What is up, Bitcoiners? Welcome to Stacking Sats, the show that demystifies Bitcoin projects and shows you how to build them too. I'm your host, Trevor, and I'll be taking you on a trip down the rabbit hole in ways you've never imagined. I hope that you'll follow me on this epic journey as we explore Bitcoin projects and discover countless ways to stack more sats. We've got a lot of work to do. Let's get stacking. All right, so this episode was intentionally kept very high level and very brief. And there's a reason for that. First and foremost, I am not a developer, I'm not a coder. And to be honest, I'm kind of computer illiterate. I'm not really a tech nerd. I'm someone who's very passionate about the Bitcoin space. And I'm also deeply grateful for all of the open source contributors and developers who have helped get the Bitcoin space and the technology where it is today. So I felt that it was important to lay the foundation, a little bit of groundwork before we jump into the show and start building things, because a lot of what we're going to be building is derived from open source projects, whether it's hardware projects or software projects. It comes from open source. And so we got to pay homage where homage is due. We cannot do what we're doing without the work of previous developers. And most of these developers have been working in a vacuum and not getting paid for it. So I hope that after listening to this, you'll look at your life and see all of the projects that have been built by open source developers and think about ways that you can contribute to them. Now, we're not going to be doing a build overview for free and open source software because I didn't want to go out and start contributing to free and open source software or code, because that's not what I do. And I kept it intentionally brief because I don't want to confuse anybody. And as much as I tried to learn about free and open source software, the history of it, the why, how, all of that stuff, I just got a little confused. And so, in an effort to not confuse anyone, we'll just keep it brief. We talked on Monday about the understanding of FOSS, why it's important, and why we need free and open source software. And then on Wednesday, we spoke with Scott 9000, who is a developer, who is the developer of the BitAxe project, one of the developers of the BitAxe project. And we heard his take on free and open source software, the origins, why he chose to open source the BitAxe project. We heard about licensing and a couple other things that are helpful to us when building out this foundation. As I said with this episode, I really just want to set the stage for future episodes and deeper dives into some of the projects that we're going to be doing on the show. I think that free and open source software is very important. You know, we need it in order to continue building and developing and making our lives better. As noted by Scott, you know, free and open source software represents community-driven innovation and collaboration. Some of the examples that I want to give of free and open source software that you've probably heard of if you've been in the Bitcoin space long enough, and even if you haven't, you know, obviously Bitcoin Core is free and open source software. Satoshi released that code, gave it to the world. And the thing with free and open source software is anybody can copy it and try to change it. But that doesn't always mean that those copies are legit or people are going to use them. So as we've seen with things like Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision or Bitcoin Cash, they didn't end up quite well for the people who followed that source code. Some of the others, obviously Tor is an open source project that anybody can run. We have things like the BitAxe and the Seed Signer, which are projects that we're going to dive into specifically on the show. We have things like Brains firmware, mempool.space, Bisq, which is a peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchange. We have things like LN Bits or Sparrow Wallet. Needless to say, there is a lot of open source projects in the space. Something that is important to note is that anyone and everyone can contribute to free and open source software. Whether you're a coder or you're a builder, a tinkerer, someone like me who is just building on these projects and seeing what works and what doesn't. We're all contributing in our own way. The best thing is the best projects will win out in the end. It doesn't matter whether you think that you have the best solution out there. The market is going to ultimately decide whether or not that solution is viable. And that's the best thing about having a free market, is that anybody can contribute, but not everyone is going to be successful in those contributions. So keep that in mind when you're doing this, and try to give it your all, give it your best. And if the community doesn't like it, try again. If you want to contribute to a open source project that you enjoy using, you can always go to the developer's X account or Nostr account, or maybe they have a LinkedIn. You can go there, and generally they're going to have the GitHub repository of the project that they're working on. Find that GitHub repository, download the code, and start looking into it. If it's a hardware project, the best thing to do, like take the BitAxe for example, is to buy a BitAxe, start playing with it. Build different air filters for it, build different fans, build like the Emerge axe, build something that makes it better, and share that with the world. You can do that with other projects as well, whether it's a hash or a control board or a hash board or a heater, or maybe it's not even something Bitcoin related. Doesn't matter. You can get involved. And I implore you guys, as Scott was saying on the builder interview, is you should get involved. You should find a way that your skills are valued by the space and use those skills to make the space better. Solve problems that you encounter and share your solutions with the community. Again, I know that this episode was very high level. I know it's very short. I'm hoping to do more in-depth episodes on some of the builds that I'm working on, things that I'm deeply passionate about. So as I alluded to earlier, for next week, we're going to be diving into the Loki rig. Something that I'm very passionate about is hash rate heating. So Monday, we're going to do the history of the Loki rig, what makes it special. Midweek, we're going to do an interview with Schnitzel, someone who has built many hash rate heating projects and several Loki rigs. And then on Friday, we're going to break down that rig. I'm going to pull it all the way apart. I'm going to show you all the different components, and I'm going to show you how to modify an APW3 so that you can run this off of 120 volt power. I will create a build sheet and links to all of the products so that you can go out and build them yourself if you want to. And I'm really looking forward to it. In closing, I want to say, make sure that you're contributing to the projects that you love. If you found something that you enjoy and you see a problem, find a solution, build the solution. That's what Bitcoin's all about. Taking responsibility, putting it in your own hands, and seeing if the world also appreciates your fix. If they don't, you just go back to the drawing board and try again. If you can, contribute by donating to some of these projects or to OpenSats Foundation. The help is greatly appreciated. Every little bit helps these developers continue building the things that we need to spread Bitcoin around the globe and give it to everyone who wants it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Stacking Sats. I really hope that you guys are enjoying the show. I promise I'm going to get into some actual builds here in the future. With that, we have a lot of work to do. Let's get stacking.